It's Song Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. Dialing in from our Toronto headquarters, I'm Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How you doing, Phil?
Doing pretty good. Calling in from St. John's, Newfoundland, where it's actually 6 degrees.
Ooh.
6 degrees here in Toronto, too, today.
Oh, well, yeah, but it's our 6 degrees is friendlier than yours.
Yours is just
apparently
more Atlantic, that's all.
That's true. We got the 6 degrees before you did, technically.
No, you're an hour and a half after us.
And before, are we? And before.
No.
Yeah.
Vancouver's before.
Rises in the east, sets in the west.
Yeah, no, I'm up before you. Believe me.
Fine, but what time is it there now, Phil? You're later.
Right now it is 8:30.
Exactly, and here it's 7 o'clock.
So I'm before you. So obviously, Neil doesn't understand how time zones work.
Neil, neither do I.
You're still later.
Considering what our songwriting challenge is going to be this year, it's
boy, it's going to be problematic. Yes,
indeed.
All right. For everyone else, send your comments, questions, your time zones at Song Talk Radio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca for the email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. Please let me know how I don't understand time zones. Visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode and find links to resources we mentioned, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. Tonight, we're very happy to welcome singer-songwriter Desiree Dorion back to the show. How are you, Desiree?
Hey, I'm good. And I also do not really get time zones. So I feel your pain.
Yeah. I know. Well, luckily we don't need, I don't know, haven't there any songs about time zones out there?
Probably.
The only one that comes to my mind is I've Been Everywhere, Man.
That's okay.
But without a time zone probably being mentioned in it.
Without talking about time zones?
Yeah.
I know Carole King wrote a song about why doesn't anybody stay in one place anymore? It's quite a lovely song, actually.
Yeah.
So, maybe.
Why doesn't anyone stay in the same time zone anyway?
That's
true. Probably wouldn't sing as well.
I have clients in Vancouver, so I have meetings at like 9:30 at night.
Yes. Yes. There you go. One end to the other. And where are you dialing in from, Desiree?
I am in the little tiny town of Portage la Prairie, Manitoba right now.
Nice. We got east, central, sort of west.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All parts. Some parts.
All right. Yes. Okay. And just a little news bit before we get to Desiree's stuff. A little new story I heard on CBC originally, but then looked up a couple of YouTube videos about it. Top music artists release a silent album in protest against AI copyright changes in the UK. And this was a really interesting little story about Annie Lennox and Andrew Lloyd Webber, and who was the other one they named there? Anyway,
Kate Bush.
Kate Bush. Yes, Kate Bush. Kate Bush was involved as well. So they all collaborated on an album. They're calling a silent album is basically like the background noise in recording studios, and in response to legislation in the UK that AI companies are permitted to mine, established music to build their AI databases and whatnot. So they put together this album in protest, basically saying that, if their livelihoods are stolen by AI companies, then this is what, this is the future of music. It'll just be background noise. The thing, which I thought was it was pretty clever little, little protest album, I guess.
I kind of want to hear it.
Yeah, curious. What was that other one? The 4 minutes, 33 seconds. Who was that?
John Cage,
who just recorded silence, literally silence.
And Lou Reed did a album called Metal Machine Music, which was basically just all amplifier noise so he could get out of his record contract. But it's actually kind of good, so I don't know, depending on what you're liking.
Yeah, on your taste. Yeah. What did you think of that story, Desiree?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of thoughts with AI, and I've gone down the rabbit hole a little bit in terms of, like, there's this app, and I don't even know the name of the app, and I quite frankly don't even want to name it. but you can plug in your own song. So I plugged in my own songs, and then it'll take it and it'll manipulate it and turn it into garbage.
Like the band garbage, or
no, like trash. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy, crazy thing, because you think about, like, I just think about, you know, how early days I made zero money on publishing, but now, I mean, that's a good chunk of cash flow for an independent artist, and for any artist for that matter. And so if companies are coming in and with these, like, literally, it's literally not real. It's made up, and they're profiting from that, then what does that do to the rest of us? I mean, we know what it does to the rest of us. But then I think also, like, not even from taking off my business hat and just putting on a human artist hat, like, what I heard when I went down the rabbit hole was not like a single iota of magic, you know. And I think that when you listen to music, that's why we listen to music, because we feel that magic. It's about feelings, and it's often undescribable. Often we can't put words to what we feel when we listen to music. And I just think, you know, what next? What else do we want to take the magic out of?
Yeah. I don't know. I just, it seems like governments have all just kind of lost their minds in the last year. I don't know what the heck's going on. It's, you know, there's nothing wrong with having regulations on things. That's what makes a society work. Is, you know, you can't drive your car on the sidewalk or a million miles an hour.
Yeah.
So having safeguards is not a bad thing, and I don't understand what the government is getting out of it. I don't know if they're being paid off or what it is, but it's just like, why would you want to take away one of the main cultural exports of your country? And England is known for its music.
Yeah.
You know, and to sabotage that is just strange. And of course, what's happening down south to our southern brothers, where you don't know what the heck's going on there. It's a bizarre world. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it is strange. I mean, surely they would get, I don't know, surely, but they probably get more tax revenue from AI companies than they do from independent artists.
Yeah, maybe that's
so that
it.
there is that they're getting paid off that way. I mean, the way I see it is, I mean, for myself, it's sometimes a tool for songwriting. You know, as much as you know, having a bad co-writer in the room, and that kind of works. It worked on my last song. It gave me, you know, permission to do a bad first draft, and then I revised it after that. But as far as the sort of theory of it is concerned, I kind of see it like, I think I've said this on the podcast before, like in a lot of ways, any song that we write as human beings is based on all the songs that we've heard in the past, right? In one form or another. Now, has an AI written Bohemian Rhapsody yet? No. May it someday, maybe, who knows, right? But that's essentially what they're doing. I mean, you know, if you sat down and listened to every single record ever made and ingested it all into your memory and then wrote a song after that, isn't that essentially what the AI is doing? Albeit that the AI is doing it at greater amplification and enormous amounts of data that we could never possibly, you know, absorb ourselves. Which I think, I mean, I feel like the more data they get, the more vanilla-ized the result ends up being, because a lot of what makes music made by humans unique is the unique human angle on it, right? This is my song. This is my point of view. These are the musical choices I want to make, and that's what makes it special.
And right? The experience, the human experience, the story that inspired that song, that inspired the words behind that song.
Yeah, and it does make me wonder. I mean, musicians tend to care about that. The general public, they're just spinning on Spotify. Do they care if it was, you know, do they care about the backstory, or they just care about the result? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and AI just quickly gets to the result. We don't know the process that it takes to get there. So the other thing that I heard from one of my favorite authors, a music historian, Ted Goya, he said it on internet. I think he was being interviewed by Rick Beato on YouTube, and he said that one of the possible outcomes of this is that audiences will in the future place a value upon the history of a song or the process behind a song, because that will be uniquely human, right? That people will care eventually about the more than just the result of what the final song is, but how did the songwriter get there? Now, with an AI, obviously can't tell you that, but a human being can. And frankly, when you look at fan engagement now, I mean, if you follow certain bands on social media, they do you know, they do share things about, oh, we're in the recording studio, we're doing this, so we just did a demo of a song, we're doing a songwriting session here. Or artists share tips about their process. You know, this podcast is a fine example, right, about that sort of stuff. But you know, but in some ways, that maybe with the onset of AI, then that sort of aspect of artistry may become just as valuable as the final result, your album release as it is, or your song release. So that's an interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting take, but
yeah, it seems a little hopeful. I'm not sure if people listen that closely or think that closely.
Yeah, I think perhaps it is. Yeah,
but you know, but for me, all AI has a tell, and I can almost always identify AI because there's always something. Once you hear it, you can spot it. I can spot it on all the AI sales letters that people send me, and it really sticks out, and you really can tell. And it's just, I don't know if anyone else can, but I certainly can. But, you know,
for sure, yeah, there are some tells sometimes, especially the graphics and things, like people have fingers or.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you want to have 6 fingers, you can have 6 fingers. All right.
6-fingered man. Someone was looking for you. Right. Okay. Yeah. A lot of stuff to unpack. I'd be curious to see how this album of silent music is received.
It's received.
People go and buy it. And I mean, you know, like you're saying, Phil, like it's been done in the past, you know, for various different reasons. But yeah, pretty cool, pretty clever. The new idea of a processed album.
Yes.
Anyway, all right, on to the main event. Juno-nominated singer-songwriter Desiree Dorion unveiled her 7th studio album, Remember Your Name, in the fall of 2024, stepping beyond her signature country roots to explore the rich and soulful landscapes of roots Americana. Blending vulnerability, strength, and personal growth into every lyric, Dorion's latest project marks a bold evolution in her musical journey, finding a new sonic home that complements her artistry. Her heartfelt storytelling has earned widespread recognition across major Canadian media, including The Morning Show, Breakfast Television, E-Talk, Global News Toronto, APTN, and CTV News. Her music continues to resonate on CBC Radio, SiriusXM, and Canada's National Campus and Community Radio charts, where her most recent album spent 11 weeks landing multiple #1 spots. Offstage, Dorion is a mother, lawyer, and advocate for Indigenous communities. Welcome back to Song Talk Radio, Desiree.
Thank you.
Great to have you on the show again. And definitely go check out Desiree's earlier episode. It was a while back on the show. It was a great episode. We'll link to that in the show post for sure. And let's get started. Let's listen to Desiree Dorion's new song. This is called Dry. And remember, once again, you can find the lyric sheet on the show post at songtalk.ca to follow along. Let's hit it, Phil.
There's a storm, it's rolling in. You and me, we sink or swim. I keep drowning, you keep pulling me in, and I'm thirsty. Like the water underground or the water from the sky. Water in my body, I need you to survive. You say that you love me and I love to let always running, washing over me. Damn, it's hot and we're in deep. You pull me under and I can't breathe, and I'm thirsty. Like the water underground or the water from the sky. The water in my body, I need you to survive. You say that you love me and I love to let you. You put a drop in the bucket, but I'm coming up dry. You put a drop in the bucket, but I'm coming up. I try to fight, I don't know if I can make it. I fake it, I'll go out with the tide. You're the one that saves me, Lord, have mercy. I'm thirsty, like the water underground or the water from the sky. The water in my body, I need you to survive. You say that you love me and I love to let you lie. You put a drop in the bucket, but I'm coming up dry. You put a drop in the bucket, but I'm coming up dry, dry.
Neat. So, what was the process of writing this song?
So I attended an Anishinaabe law course at the Forks in downtown Winnipeg, and it was being delivered by Professor Mills through McGill University. And part of that course involved us sitting in a sharing circle, and the circle itself was led by Elder Copenis, Sherry Copenis, and she's given me permission to tell this story. So that's why I'm telling the story. But in the circle, she gave everybody a water teaching. She talked to us about there being 4 different kinds of water: water from the sky, water from the ground, water from the ocean, so salt water, and water in a woman's womb. And I had rented an Airbnb that was close by to this, where I was taking this course. And so we sat in the circle for about an hour, and then we were dismissed. And I was walking back to my Airbnb, and it was about a 35-minute walk. And I was thinking about, the notion of water and how, in a First Nations perspective, we think about water as having a spirit, that it literally is a living being. And then I got to thinking about, this is all just on the walk home, my overthinking problem. And then I got to thinking about, well, if water has a spirit, it must really love us, because look at how much it's taken care of us over the millennia, over, years and years and years and
Or
years,
forever.
or forever. Water has allowed us to survive. And in the last, 400 or 500 years or so, we've just treated it poorly. We've completely desecrated it, and we pollute it, and we don't care for it. We don't appreciate, I think, as human beings, generally speaking. I mean, obviously I'm not speaking at a micro level, I'm speaking macro. But how we just, we literally need it to survive. But yeah, we just treat it like shit. And then I got to thinking about how we do that in our human to human relationships, how sometimes the people that we love the most, we treat the worst. And then I started one version of this song, and it was okay, but I knew it wasn't where I wanted it to be. So then I went to Toronto on a writing trip. I guess it would have been late 2023-ish. And I sat down with Jay Allen and Olivia Mae Graham, and I told them the story, and I said, this song needs a bit of a facelift. It's not where I want it to be just yet. And I wanted to strengthen the metaphors between, using water as a metaphor throughout, but then also intertwining the complexities of, an unhealthy romantic relationship.
So what's it seems like there's an interesting time signature to the drums or to the percussion. It seems to be quite unusual.
Yeah. Don't ask me about time signatures because I don't really know. But what I do know is that when I went into recording this project, I work a lot in spaces that allows me opportunities to advocate for Indigenous inclusion and to create Indigenous space for Indigenous artists. And what I realized when I was going into the recording process is that I really haven't put my money where my mouth is as an artist, and that, I haven't, I've paid a lot of non-Indigenous people throughout my career. And what I wanted to do was intentionally seek out Indigenous musicians who could lend their own talent to, the stories that I wanted to tell. And so the percussion comes from Michelle Briere, who is from the Saugeen First Nation, and him and my producer Joel Shorts worked really closely to get that sound. And we spent all day tracking bass and drums, and they spent a lot of time on that particular song, but also on Remember Your Name. And it was a really cool collaborative process to watch.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, and it's evident in the song, the way the rhythm of it works. I mean, in answer to your question, Phil, I think I was counting along in the last chorus and trying to figure out, because it did feel like a different time signature. But I think if there is a different time signature, it's just a 2/4 bar within a 4/4 bar, or there's just a really heavy emphasis on the 3 in certain moments. Right. So if it feels like you feel like 3 is a downbeat, then it becomes sort of like a 2/4 bar, and that's what gives it. But here's my question, Desiree. When the percussionist artists came in, did you already have a rhythmic structure for the guitar part, say, and did you already have a rhythmic sort of bass for the song, or did you let the drums drive the rhythm of the song?
Yeah, I invited Michelle and my bass player Leroy Constant in and gave them basically artistic freedom. I wanted them to come in. Both of them are I mean, they both are super talented in their own right and have, decades of experience behind them. And so I didn't want to come in and, say, well, this is what I want. And I wanted it to be really collaborative and really organic. And so when we did the studio day together, we spent the entire day together, and we just, we dug in, and with Joel's guidance, this was the final product.
So what was the songwriting process? You had sort of like a demo, and then you brought it in, and then you sort of rewrote it, or how did that work?
No, so I can barely play guitar. So when I originally wrote the first version of this song, I literally just did it on a work tape in my Airbnb. And then I knew it just wasn't sitting right. So then what I did is I took my work tape to my right with Jay and Olivia, and we just sat with it. And I played what I had, what I could play on my guitar to my own limited abilities. And and we just fine-tuned it a little bit. The chorus really didn't change a whole lot. The chorus was kind of more or less the same. I think we changed maybe a couple words in the chorus. But we definitely worked on nailing down the metaphors in the verses and, tying that into an unhealthy human to human relationship.
So is the you in this song supposed to be the opposing person in a relationship, or is it an address to water?
No, it's supposed to be the other person in the relationship.
So you started with the water metaphor, but then it became a metaphor for a relationship. Because that is the impression I got from the song, that the water and the dry is a metaphor for the relationship. It's not. Yeah. It's not an environmental protest song by any stretch.
No. The whole. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because you know, I love to let you lie can't possibly be about the water itself.
Can't be about
because water doesn't lie or tell the truth. It just
That's
does
right.
what it does. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I really like that. I don't want to say I like it, but I find it intriguing how it's like the chorus really takes off in a wonderful way. Like water from the sky, water from my body, need you to survive. Perfect rhyme. Say that you love me, and I love to let you lie. There's like this amazing pause right there, and that final word about lying that, you know, it kind of twists the. I'm gonna say it twists the meaning, but it does put a negative spin on the whole thing, right? It's just we're starting to get towards the dry, right? Because when you look at the chorus on the page, sky, survive, lie, dry, dry. You know, it almost sounds like it could be a hip hop song. It's got a rhyme structure, right?
We did plug this one into the AI program and turn it into a hip hop song.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm going to generalize across all hip hop, but you know what I mean, right? But the way the melody transforms on, especially on that line, "I'll let you lie," you kind of detach yourself from that perfect rhyme scheme. Right.
Yeah.
It really sort of. That
was a last minute production decision.
Really? So when you wrote it originally, it didn't do that?
It didn't do that. There was no pause. It just went straight in. And then there were some things on the vocal. So I'd originally gone into Toronto to record, like when we did the recording, I recorded, I think 3 songs. I recorded all 6 in the first trip. And then we came back, we tracked bass and drums. So that they had something to play to. And then there were things with the vocal that things weren't sitting well with me. So I went back to Toronto and we redid some of the vocals, and that was one of them. Yeah, I just felt like the pause gave it more emphasis, more oomph.
It's a bit of drama, you know?
Yeah, it adds a bit of interest, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I really like how it's incredibly, I mean, it's not a long song, but it's like really focused. It's like really, it's very clear what the song is about. You don't, you know, your bridge doesn't even necessarily go to a totally different place. You know, it's very zeroed in on the metaphor and on the thing. Like it's really nicely focused. Because I mean, I you know, for myself, I tend to sometimes I tend to like go here for the verse and then go there for the chorus and then go different things, and then I get, you know, feedback from other people that all your parts seem very disconnected. Like,
right?
No kidding, right? But this is you know, really unified, which I respect a lot, right?
Yeah, I felt like we needed to take that approach just because it was kind of like because of the dual metaphors being used. I felt like I didn't want to go into too many places or that it would just get overly confusing and complex. And so I wanted to just keep it really streamlined. Like, we are using water words to express, you know, a toxic relationship. And and so I wanted to keep that streamlined right throughout.
Yeah, which I think is the best choice, because like you say, like we've talked about this on the podcast so much. It's been something that's front of mind for me the last couple of years as a songwriter is complexity versus simplicity, right? Like, where do you where do you leave things simple? Where do you add complexity? How much complexity do you add? And is it worth it, or are you going to lose the listener, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's, you know, like the metaphor is clear, and it's clear what you're talking about. Like, if you put a drop in the bucket, I'm coming up dry. I love that line. So it tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Right there. Right?
Yeah. Little bit of love bombing, but I'm still coming up dry.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you did you tweak the melodies at all, or were the melodies pretty well done?
The melodies were pretty well done. Like the chorus melody really didn't change. I think the only line in the chorus that we changed was the hook, like you put a drop in the bucket. If I recall, Jay and Olivia might say, "Hey, Des, you got this wrong," if they're watching this. But if I recall, that's all we changed. And then the chorus, even the verse melodies, I don't think a whole lot changed. We put different intonations on them, I think, vocally, but like, I don't think we changed a whole lot there either. I mean, you can hear that it was written by someone who can barely play guitar, just because it is so simplistic, right? I think that a lot of the stuff that I start by myself on my guitar comes across that way, because I just am not a guitar player.
Yeah, I mean, and that's perfectly okay, as long as you can string it together with a melody.
Right.
The melody is king, and you can always get, better guitar players to add their special taste on it. But the other question is then, like, when they heard your original demo with your, admittedly not so great guitar playing, but it was probably clear, right, what the song was, right? Did they do, like, they start substituting chords and, adding, jazz things on top of it, or did they just kind of take it verbatim as a simple guitar part? Because you can get really far with like 4 chords, right?
Yeah, no, I think we didn't do anything really a whole lot different with the verses. We did add the bridge, and that was Jay's idea, and I thought that was a good one. I really liked the build up, in the bridge itself, and but no, the verse, melody, and chorus didn't really change a whole lot.
Well, it seemed to be a very clear idea that was taken through to its rational outcome, I guess.
Yeah. And we you remember Jeremy Voltz, when he came on the show, Phil, he talked about this, about how your song only needs to be about one thing.
That's true. Yeah.
Right? Like, just zero it in and remain focused. And when you get to that point, because sometimes, like I said, like, sometimes I have a tendency to go here, go there, go kind of and collect a bunch of different ideas together. But when I get to the point where I've streamlined it down, I'm going to focus in on this thing.
Yeah. And for me, that's always easier when in this case, we nailed down the chorus. Like, we needed to get that hook. We needed to figure out, what the heck is it that we're trying to say. And typically, I would say 9 times out of 10, that's my process. Like, get the chorus nailed down, figure out what the hook is, where's the payoff, and then build your verses around that, just so that all of that supports the chorus. And I think for me, at least, that helps me to stay focused and helps me to, like, not veer off into never land.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a good thing. And sometimes I think it's harder than it sounds to do that.
Absolutely.
Because I fail at it normally.
No.
That's true. It's being simple is very hard, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. But simple and yet rich and compelling.
That's true.
Because there's a difference between that and simplistic. That's a whole other discussion. Right. I'm here in the band. I think that's all the time we have on Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to Desiree Dorion. And where can we send our listeners to find out more about you and hear some more songs?
I have a brand new website, DesireeDorion.com. I'm on Facebook at Des Dorion, Instagram at Desiree Dorion, and TikTok at The Desiree Dorion.
Okay, and can you spell Desiree Dorion for us, please?
DesireeDorion.
Perfect. And of course, we'll have links to your website on the show post for this episode at songtalk.ca. And we want to hear from you. So please send your comments on Facebook or Instagram to @songtalkradio, or send us an email at feedback@songtalk.ca. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes, and subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mention on the show on our resources page. And please join us at our next monthly Song Talk meetup. Whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups, it's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup, bring a song and a lyric sheet, and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil.
phillemery.ca.
And Desiree, what's your favorite social media channel? Where do you post the most?
Probably Instagram.
Always with the grammars.
Always the grammars.
All right. Be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on writing. Long.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, great song. Great song.
Neat. Really neat
Well,
stuff.
thanks, guys.
Yeah. Well, good
Awesome.
luck with the hockey tournament.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Appreciate
that's cool.
that. And thanks for having me back again.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Anytime.
Is there a really strong community of Indigenous country artists in Manitoba? Because I'll be honest, it seems that every country artist that comes from the prairies on our show is Indigenous.
Yeah, you know what? Well, there's
true.
like I would say Alberta has a strong
Okay.
crew of Indigenous artists. There's a few in Saskatchewan, and there's a big bunch of us in Manitoba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really seems to be I don't know if it's a growing thing or it's probably always been there. But, I'm becoming more and more aware of it recently.
I think that it's because the like, especially in First Nation communities, like on the reserves and stuff, that like the res radios, they play mostly country music. And so when people are coming up and developing their, their craft, and that's what they're exposed to, right? Maybe not so much nowadays with internet and stuff, and that's where you're seeing like the Matt Max and the, Sebi Gaskins and that, but because they would have come up in the internet era, which is different than when my era came up. But
right. Yeah, because remember back in the day, there was like the Res Kids and all that, like all the hip hop stuff. There's a lot of hip hop, in the previous generation, perhaps. But yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool to sort of intersect those two things, right? Because like you're a country artist, but you're also an Indigenous artist, and that's a cool intersectionality. Because especially when you bring in the percussion and the idea and the ideation, like the water metaphor, the respect for the water, and all that sort of stuff. It's really, really interesting and compelling.
Yeah, I think so too. Cool. I think about the storytelling. Like storytelling was so prevalent in our communities historically, and that's another thing that I, at least for me, I think drew me to country music is the stories.
Yeah,
Very
for
cool.
sure, because that's very strong.
Anyway.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, great. All right, we'll give you a heads up when the podcast drops. It'll be within a week or so.
Awesome.
And then you can share it with your followers.
Okay,
folks.
I'll do.
Great. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thanks, Desiree. Take care.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye now.
Cheers.